शांति शांति शांति. Namaskar and good morning to all. I, Dr. Anita Tilve from Goa, on behalf of Hindu Women Forum, welcome you all on the second day of Hindu Women Conference. Yesterday we had very informative and fruitful sessions, and so will happen today also. Our third session is Hindu women's participation in politics and social gathering. And we have amongst us an eminent personalities for this session. It is my privilege to introduce a personality like Shantaka as a chairperson of this session. Vandaniya Shanta Kumari, popularly known as Shantaka, is the 5th Pramukh Sanchalika of Rashtra Sevika Samiti. All of us know that it is the world's largest Hindu women voluntary organization. Shantaka has completed her graduation in science and later master's in education. Previously, she was a school teacher, but took VRS to devote more time for Sevika Samiti's work. I welcome you once again and hand over the mic to Shantaka for further proceedings. Thank you.
Namaste to everybody. Manya Nirmala ji, Manya Kiran Bedi ji, Vandaniya Pramila Tai ji, and my dear brothers and sisters. Really, I'm very happy to be with you today. As a chairperson, my job is only for 5 minutes, and I'll give more chance to our speakers here. We all know that the word Stri in Sanskrit, it means woman. Stri, it has got 3 letters, we say that. Sa, Ta, or Ra. In Sanskrit we say that. And we all know that Sa, it represents Sattva Gun, purity. And Ta, it stands for Tamo Gun, mane inertia. Or Ra, which stands for Rajogun. That is activity. All these three qualities are very important for a human being. We should have all the 3 qualities in us. And women is having all the 3, these qualities, we say that. So the essence of femininity, thus is the undifferentiated amalgamation of all the 3 gunas, that is the sattvic, tamasic, and rajo gun. So a woman is a perfect human being, we can say that. She is Shakti. According to Hindu tradition, we say that. The Shakti means it represents the kinetic energy. And Shiva, it represents potential energy. We know that actionless, we say that. According to our tradition only, they say like that. And therefore, in ancient times, our great thinkers, they said about Ardhanarishwar, that is Shiva Shakti Aikya. When Shiva will be more active? When there is Shakti. That is, the kinetic energy should be there. Then only Shiva will be more active. That is why they said Ardhanarishwar Kalpana. That is the Shiva Shakti Aikya. That spiritual equality, we can say that one. And you all know that Shakti means the power and strength. It represents both. And so women occupied a very important position in our ancient tradition. In ancient Bharat, we say that. Hence, she was given more freedom to participate in the spiritual, in social, and also in political field. She was so active in all that, even today also she is active in all the 3 fields, that is the spiritual, social, and political, all the 3. For example, now today's topic is the women participation in politics and also social leadership. And if we think about the Ramayana time, we all know about Kaikeyi. I think you all know that. And I think we all know that she helped Dasharatha in the war field also. She was a Sarathi of Dasharatha's chariot. She protected him at that time also. We all know that. And she used to discuss with Dasharathaji about these political matters, about the administration of that kingdom. So like this, we know about the Kaikeyi. From that time itself, so that women are so active in the politics. And in addition to that, I think so we can have Ramayana, Mahabharata, so many. And in the historical time also, because we don't have more time. That is why only I am mentioning in some. And in the historical times, we say that in 194, 185 BC, before Christ, nearly 2000 years back itself, in Bharat, we had the Satakarni dynasty. In that Satakarni dynasty, we had one woman called Naganika. She was a very good administrator and she was ruling the kingdom at that time. We have got stone inscription there about her, and it is a very important thing is, and we have found out the coin on her name. That is, she was the first lady in the whole of Asia. That is, we can see that, even today we can see that coin on her name. That is one. And so that we can have so many like that examples also. And even I think you all know that Chinese traveler Yuan Sang, he has written in his book about so many that women rulers at that time. That is in Jammu Kashmir province also. There were so women rulers, and from generation to generation. He has mentioned it particularly. And also in the 7th century itself, in Bengal, and that is Gujarat, and also in Uttarakhand, so many women rulers were there at that time, and they were ruling so nicely. They were very good administrators at that time. We can see that. And even we know about, even today we are having, we are having so many names after the independence also. That is, Srimati Indira Gandhi is there, Sucheta Krupani is there, Vijayalakshmi Pandit is there. So many names we are having. And I am very happy to say that, so even now itself also, we have Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji as a very good administrator, social leaders among us now also. But is, due to some reasons, Smriti Irani has not come because of ill health, that one. We came to know just now. So like this, even today we are having so many political leaders amongst us. And not only in Bharat, outside Bharat also. That is in abroad also. We have, I think, you have all heard about Tulsi Gabbard. She was the first women parliamentarian in American Congress. That is Tulsi Gabbard. I think you all know that very important thing about her means she took her oath in American Parliament with the book Bhagavad Gita in her hand. That is a speciality of her. Or she daily recites Bhagavad Gita before coming to the parliament. That is her speciality, Tulsi Gabbard. And Bharatiya, that is Mool Bharatiya hai. And another one, I think you all know about Trinidad. That is in Trinidad, today's the Prime Minister of Trinidad is Kamala Vishweshwarji. Kamala Vishweshwar, she is originally from Bihar of Bharat. And she is now in the Prime Minister of Trinidad. So many names I can have. Presently in the American government, that is with Sanmanya Obama ji, so many Bharatiya women were there in that administration. There we can have so many names. And even about, like this, I can give so many names, but we don't have time. And about social leader also. Not only we are participating in the political field. That is, we have so many great leaders in the social field also. For example, in the first name I can give about Sharada Mata ji. We all know about Sharada Mata. And she helped Bhagini Nivedita to do her work at that time. And she encouraged Bhagini Nivedita to open a school because she was thinking about the education for the girls at that time in Bengal. Like that, definitely, she is the first social leader, we can say. And not only that, she allowed Bhagini Nivedita to enter her house. Because at that time, we were knowing that at that time in Bengal and in other places of Bharat, they were not allowing any foreigners to enter their house, especially in there. So at that time, she encouraged that, and she showed that we should bring social harmony in our nation. That is what. So like this, she is a social leader, we can say that. And after that also, so many names we are having. Savitribai Phule from Maharashtra. She encouraged for girls' education at that time. And also Ramabai Ranade, she is also in the education field. And even, I think, Sudha Murthy ji is there in Bangalore. And I'm really very happy to say that we have Sanmananiya Kiran Bedi ji amongst us as a social leader, because I will introduce her later on. We know that her work, even today she is working, and she's definitely a very eminent personality in the field, in the social field, we know that. So many names I can give. So like this, so there is a lot of women's participation in both political field and social field also. So now, that is, I'm very happy to introduce our speakers now. So we will say that one. And now we are having amongst us Dr. Nirmala Sitharamanji. We all know that she is a Minister of State for Commerce and Industry and in Government of Bharat, and Minister of State for Finance and Corporate Affairs, which fall under the Ministry of Finance. And until recently, she served as a national spokesperson for Bharatiya Janata Party. I think we have all seen her in Doordarshan so many times and all. And she was a very good spokesperson, we all know that. She used to answer all the questions with determination and that with confidence. We have observed that one, we have seen that. And she secured her MA degree in economics from Jawaharlal Nehru University, followed by PhD in Indo-European textile trade within the GATT framework. She was a former member of the National Commission for Women also. I think she has a degree from UK also, I think, in the field of finance and MBA. She was that in UK also. We have so many, but it's not written here also, because I know her personally also, and she was a very good leader in the social field also. She was working there in the social field for so many years. I have seen personally also. Really, I'm very happy to have Nirmala ji with us amongst us today. And I request Nirmala ji to start her.
I have quite a few very respected, who I draw a lot of inspiration from in the audience, and with this kind of an introduction, I feel a bit nervous to start talking. Channels are easy to handle, but when you have an audience which is very focused, it is very difficult. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Shantaka, for this very generous introduction, but let me honestly submit, I don't even think I'm very deserving of it. Of course, one has been doing a lot of full-time party work, but it is certainly not without the support. It's absolutely with the support of very inspiring movements like the Sevika Samiti, Mahila Samanvai, and all of which periodically have been giving us enough and more training to be able to face a kind of onslaught which I would say was unusual. The last 5 years, it peaked. You really were at the coal face of the kind of tirade which has been on against a presumed enemy in us. I say presumed enemy because we have not been against any particular system, and this is the large spirit with which this country runs, and we are speaking for that essential spirit. But the movement and the way in which we were slowly but surely asserting ourselves was seen as a way in which we're threatening many. Of course we were threatening, because very assumed presumptuous positions, as though there were certain sections which were speaking for India, for the country. We stood up to say, I'm sorry, you're not the only ones, and there are different interpretations with which we have to, build this country, and that was not being given full and adequate play. That became the challenge which, what I would think, the establishment which was used to a certain kind of a patronage could not accept. And those abstracts which I don't want to get into. But today I think what we are talking about is women in politics, Hindu women in politics. I would want to present before you a certain kind of a viewpoint which is not very different. But I would want to place certain assumptions before you which will have to be addressed. Women in politics. Politics is not a separate box. So why should we be talking about what about women in politics? Women are there everywhere. Women have to be everywhere. And women are playing a role everywhere. And everything has an influence on what is broadly going to be called as politics. So it is not as if only some women will have to reach, because of certain kind of work, into that box which becomes politics. Let us first of all remove from our head the assumption that politics is an exclusive box in which if you were a musician, you can't come. I'm just bringing in a random example. Politics is a box in which if you were a homekeeper, you have no business to talk about. Why? Politics actually is that open box, if that expression is allowed, which draws from all the streams, which should actually draw from all the streams and which should therefore react to all the streams. So let's not make it into an exclusive business. What about women in politics? No. It is a box into which all of us are there, should be there, should continue to be there, and in fact, be there even more. And therefore, on that first assumption, I would want to link up historically and otherwise various things which have happened to say we are not out of that box. Therefore, the second assumption that I want to say is, don't think you're out of that box and therefore struggle to get into that box. You're there in it, but realize that you're there in it. So that's my second assumption. And third is, if you're there in it, why are you low profile? That's where the problem comes. If you're low profile, you're not noticed, people tend to think mistakenly that you're not there at all. So my three assumptions may look very simplistic. My three assumptions may look as if I'm giving you something which is not novel. Not every time do we need novel solutions for an existing problem. And therefore, if we can just contemplate on those three, we'll probably answer many of the questions which are before us. Contemplate on the three based on history, not just of recent past, but ancient also. Second, contemplate in the way in which women have played roles to justify my second assumption, that you're there in it, but realize it. And third, again look at the roles which have been periodically played effortlessly, absolutely effortlessly, and therefore link it with my third assumption. You're low profile, but today's world may not want that low profile nature, and therefore we have to see how we want, without getting into an adversarial position, assertive. Because adversarial position doesn't help anybody. We'll exclude people. Instead, we have to engage with everybody. So my three assumptions and the history, social, and other movements from where I'm drawing the examples are only going to allow me to justify my three assumptions and come to the last line of, based on these three, let's start understanding how we play our roles from wherever we are. So I'm going to just randomly take examples. There can be a million more examples like the ones which I want to present before you. to prove my three assumptions, which I'm sure nobody is going to be able to say, oh my God, this is a random assumption you've taken, it's not right, it's not, or it is questionable. Because these are three matter-of-fact assumptions. Shantaka beautifully referred to the idea of Ardhanarishwara. I just want to put that whole thing in a slightly different way to present. The general assumption is God, the superior power, the maker, is a man. Assume that assumption is right, and that kind of a presumption about, any civilization thought of its maker as a man. This civilization, the Hindu civilization, said that man, even if he was a man, is half a woman. We didn't say anything else. We just said, assume that he's a man. Satisfy that section which wants to believe that every maker, every superior is a man. We only have said, even that maker has half a woman. And of course, we can give very, very, very ethereal and very, exotic narration of what that half a woman meant. That is attitude. Even with the sattva, raja, guna, he is in attitude, half a woman. He also has the softness. He has also got the delicate, sensitivity. So that man, all-powerful man who produced us, is not devoid of those gentle guna which is normally associated with women. So, to become a complete, even the most powerful maker had to have a woman quality in him. That was recognized by this civilization. Huh? So if you're going with that thought, and if you're going with that thought to explain what your understanding of your spiritualness, your link with that maker, the link with that cosmic power which is actually running this whole scheme of things, you did not exempt women in anything that you did since your ancient times. What is so sacred to the Hindu? The Vedas. What is so sacred to the Hindus? The narration in the Vedas, that's why you say that they are darshanas, they are experiences. People have envisaged that and therefore narrated it after their experiences. Isn't that what we talk about our Vedic experiences? They are not as if somebody says, I'm scholarly, I've got the knowledge, I don't know where that knowledge came from, but I'm sitting and narrating it. No, it is an experience, an anubhuti, which gets narrated. And when it is narrated because of experience, it has that, connectivity with all of us. It is eternal, shashvat, it is permanent. You can relate it 21st century. Somebody who lived in the 5th century also had something to link with it in matters that connected you with your maker. Again there, it was not all men. Rig Veda registers nearly 21 women who have had this kind of anubhuti and who narrated it. So, it's not as if at some point in time, I'll give you more examples, but it's not as if in some point in time we were large enough to say, man and women were equal and after that forgot. No, that spirit of recognizing without the sense of patronage, I've recognized 5 men, so I have to recognize 1 woman. No. Whenever there was this experience, we had to bring in women, we brought them in without having to be patronizing. So whether it was in the God himself or subsequently those who had that godly experience, which is the darshana, which is the anubhuti, and which is where they start writing their own experiences, which became a part of some of the Upanishads. After that, you still had the records of various great saints, scholars, who participated in very many, intellectual discourses. Allow me to digress for a minute. When I'm talking of intellectual discourses or spiritual experiences and so on, please reconnect. They are not spiritual aside from political. So I am keeping that box open from all the 4 corners. It's a box, but it is open. And that's why political box, I'm not willing to say it's an exclusive box. So this intellectual, it is the spiritual, the social, all of them, I'm trying to put in front of you to say, this box has received it from all. Whether it is your spiritual, whether next, I'm talking of the intellectual experiences of great scholars who did not keep women somewhere inside and have this exclusive debate. The much quoted, repeated example of Mandana Misra along with Adi Shankara, let us not forget, it was just not that simple exercise of, whose garland wilted faster to decide. Mandana Misra's wife was asked to say, whose garland is fresher than the other? So that became an indicator of the winner. The one whose garland was still fresh was the one who's the winner, because he didn't strain himself, his body did not become so hot with anger or anything, that his garland wilted, is the one who's winner. She was not called to just talk about the mala. She has actually been observing the exchange between the two of them symbolically, because it's a narration. And to bring in the beauty, the mala angle was brought in, but she was a scholar enough to say whose argument was much better. And Adi Shankara or Mandana Mishra did not keep the wife inside saying, like in the film Lagan, which I keep quoting, Garam karo pani, you don't question me, chalo chalo garam karo pani was not the attitude. Adi Shankara didn't say, get the food ready, I'm not going to take your judgment. Woman was allowed, and she was there as an equal partner, to not just choose the garland which was fresh, but also to say whose arguments were much potent. If that was an exception, if some of us think, oh, that was an exception, who was Lopamudra? Agastya's wife constantly gave him inputs even as he was writing the Dakshina Veda. He's recognized all over the south as the man who gave immense number of, inputs. Lopamudra was constantly with him. Of course, Maitreyi and Gargi have continuously participated in the discussions, both wives of the great scholar, but never mind, they had their inputs to give. Everything is answered for the question that Maitreyi raised. So she couldn't have raised silly questions to get intellectual answers. So let's not forget that. Now, very quickly, instead of taking much of a time from the other speakers, whenever in trouble, and not simple trouble, as horrendous as troubles as we see in 21st century, whenever in trouble, how did these women win out the situation to come out of trouble? Most of whom we know, whether it was Savitri's debates with Yama, whether it is Draupadi in the court asking such uncomfortable but legally valid questions, not just legally valid, but bringing the subtleties of who actually owned me before losing and after losing. These are not questions which come out of lay, ordinary, home-keeping women. These are women who were completely at the top, on the top of the law-prevailing judicial system then. How was that possible? If you were raising questions on issues related to law, you're not distant away from politics. Questions raised by Draupadi, even the very petite Shakuntala, when she was forgotten by that husband of hers, what are the questions she raises? She is very petite, very, noble, very royal, never exposed except for her simple affection of a Milson Boone-like lover. But the questions she raised were not simple questions. They were political questions. Political in as much as the role of women in that society. I'll move further, which is even period-wise further, Sangha Tamil literature. Kannagi, who was she? She was just moving along with her husband who was a merchant, goes into a totally different kingdom whose rules may be different. But what kind of question she asked the Chola king? The embarrassment which was brought to the Chola king in his court, that he had to just fall down only to die of shame. These are not women who had a royal and such an upbringing that they could question the ruler of the country, of an alien country. She was moving from Chola to Pandya kingdom, and in the Pandya court, she could ask the Pandya king such questions which embarrassed the king. Of course, Rani Jhansi, all of us have spoken so much about it, I won't. If we come down further, one of the reference which has always remained as a very lingering thought in my mind is if you look at Srimad Bhagavata, the narration are beautiful. One such a narration is about an entire kingdom. If I remember the geography right, southeast of Dwarka, an entire kingdom which was run by women. Women are kings, women are queens, women are police, women are court, women are soldiers, women are the doorkeepers. Women would bring this man who's been caught into the court of all women, but women would handle them. Of course, the description talks about a very sort of perverted kingdom, but never mind all-woman kingdom. So it was there. So if I go on, I'll come very quickly to the latest recent history. Even as Uttar Pradesh was being divided between Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, the entire movement was run by women in Uttarakhand. And the kind of toil they've gone through, ignominy they were put to, and one extreme case where a set of women who were moving towards Lucknow were held in a police station or publicly disrobed are of recent past. Active political participation of women. Down south in Nellore, having had enough because of Arak, the anti-Arak movement of Nellore completely threw out a Congress government and brought in NTR, all run by women. Of course, that movement, I don't know where it is, and liquor is back in full force. But that change happened all because of entirely women-run campaign. I'll not forget Northeast. I'll not forget Manipur. I've worked there and I feel very, very close to the kind of developments that have happened. During the Second World War, Manipur, which is rich in rice, had to give away all its rice to save the British soldiers who were fighting with the Japanese in the southeastern corner, somewhere near Myanmar and places like that. All rice grown in Manipur were sent off to the soldiers, and Manipuris whose staple food was rice had no rice left in that land. The women of Manipur, it was then, the women of Manipur, from those wonderful ponds and lakes, which is Manipur's strength, it's rich with lakes, they went, dug up all the water chestnuts, made it edible for people to eat, and they survived on it. Manipur's water chestnut story is a miraculous story. And the entire generation of Manipuris, even today, would say they lived because of that little discovery of these women. And today, of course, Manipur is back in its own. But that was a complete women's own self-sought solution. Manipur's women have not remained quite after that. Even today, if you go into Impal, the first thing you see is the women's mothers market. The wonderful market. None of our Walmarts can match up to the variety they have, and the kind of things that they would bring in there is unbelievable. If anything, I would go and set up an example of a store there. The diligence with which they would come, variety that they would bring in, sell it, go back, and they run their houses afterwards. Women in Manipur can give us n number of lessons about how retailing can happen even today. I won't take much of your time. I just want to highlight the Chipko movement had its own women's share. There are ever so many issues in which women, both from societal point of view, sociological point of view, economic point of view, women's banks, women's seed movements. We've had a culture that in every village, the seed for the forthcoming season would be held by this woman in the gown. Of course, it had a certain lot of beliefs attached. She's, very good. Her hands are very lucky hands. In her house, there's space to store the dhanya. She's called the Dhanya Lakshmi of the Gaon. And she would be the first one to give the next set of seeds for the village poor farmers who can't afford to buy seeds. We've dismantled all this because today we have retail outlets coming with fancy seeds which don't last even one season. So there are enough examples to talk about how women have had a role in what I call politics, which is not narrow to holding positions. Free India, we've had a lot of law being brought in, which is reforming a lot of our own laws. Hindu Succession Act, Hindu Women's Rights, Domestic Violence Act, so many things which have good and bad in them. But the fact is, unless each one of us, whether we are in a sociological wing or a segment of the society, or we are in a NGO which is only doing certain kind of work, or we are writing wonderful things. Sudha Malaya is here, who's very good in the way in which she writes about issues in her own. She's a journalist, come a politician, come a women's activist, come a historian, come a dancer. Tell me how many men can match up to that? So I think what we need is we should have our achievements slowly, not in a pompous way, but recorded. Document your work. Show it out. We are not speaking only for ourselves, but it is a contribution to the contribution of women in every segment of our life, as we've always had, but in 21st century it requires a certain narration, and that's what is being missed out on. Without taking more of your time, thank you for sharing my thoughts with you, and thanks for being a patient audience. Thank you.
No, we'll give time afterwards. 1 minute afterwards, we'll give time. It's okay. Now, I'm very happy to introduce Manya Dr. Kiran Bedi. We all know about her already, but still it is my responsibility to introduce her. Dr. Kiran Bedi is the IPS. We all know that. She is the first woman to join the officer ranks of Bharatiya Police Seva. She holds a law degree, master's and a PhD. She has worked with United Nations, Delhi Police, etc. She has been a national and Asian tennis champion. She is a sportswoman also. And a Nehru Fellow, an author of several books, anchors TV and radio shows. And she is there in all the field, I think. She travels widely on speaking engagements. Currently, she runs 2 non-profit organizations in field of child education and women empowerment. She received several national and international awards. President's Gallantry Award, 1979, and Raman Magsaysay Award, a very prestigious award, you all know that, and in 1994, and United Nations Medal in 2004. Many more things are there, we all know that about her, and we know daily we'll be seeing her. And even now also, recently also, she has participated in so many social movements against corruption and everything, we all know that. So now I request her to express her views.
Nirmala is taller than me. She didn't need it. I do. I'm thoroughly privileged and honored to be speaking at this great conference. This invitation itself was an absolute inspiration. कि मौका मिला बात करने का. सब हिंदी जानते हैं? आप भी हिंदी जानते हैं? हिंदी जानते हैं? बहुत अच्छा. सब हिंदी जानते हैं? सब? Very nice. Nirmala, I know, is more comfortable with English, right? सब नहीं जानते? Oh. अच्छा, थोड़ा थोड़ा हिंदी भी, इंग्लिश भी. Oh, I see. You got some people from overseas. Okay. ठीक है. With great respect to our foreign delegates, we'll speak more in English. Okay? I know the Fijians, etc. are there. Yeah. I want to, friends, take forward what Nirmala ji said. She was very inspiring for me. She was always been inspiration for me. Whenever we both shared a television program, I used to get lost listening to her. And I remember in the anti-corruption movement, I used to tell Nirmala ji, this is your movement. Please take over. And I'm glad they took over at the right time. And you know the results of it. The results are all there to see. Actually, that movement set the ground for somebody to drive the change. And I'm so glad it did. And India is today a beneficiary. The second result, which I think from which we can draw out from Nirmala ji, is for our sister, elder sister, Shantaka. And that is, let's document this contribution of women history. Let's document it. Not for adults like you and me, but for students. It should be a student edition for the age group of 13 to 16 of the role women have played in shaping Indian society and the world and Indian civilization. Because something like this, of the kind of Amar Chitra Katha kind, something like an illustrative book, if we bring it for the age group of 13 to 16 and make it a part of the school syllabus, they will suddenly, our young boys and women will feel confident and realize what she has said. Who makes this? Who makes this? If Smriti ji was here, we would have told her, requested her. But I think nothing stops any one of us from doing it. But if the movement does it, of the headquarters in Nagpur, or the NCRT does it, and it is well researched. How did our women shape the past? Something which we may have forgotten. We may just remember, I came to Delhi in 1975. I was a part of the women's movement when we were asking for equal rights for women. We were looking for gender sensitization. I remember we were part of the Domestic Violence Act, which finally came, and now the movement, which was anyway joined. But I think it's where I would say what Nirmala ji has shared with us calls for a book which documents women's history or women's leadership, but focused on the age group of 13 to 16. And it should be an illustrative book. I love illustrative books. I have not come across something like this at all. So we have illustrative books of saints and sages and freedom fighters. But I have not come across something which would document Savitri. We would document Draupadi, Sita, Meera, and our Chipko movements and so many others which she mentioned. I think it's time. If you agree, let's pass a resolution that we want it. We want it. Maybe Nirmala ji could be the author of the book. She could be the author or a co-author or an editor of the book, having done this. So this was my first follow-up to what Nirmala ji said. I don't want to repeat what she said. I'm going to take this thought forward of hers, but it's absolutely important. I'm almost inspired to do it myself, but to research and find out all these historical documents to document this. Because if the age group of 13 to 16 reads it, they will think of women differently. The boys, when they listen, girls will feel encouraged and courageous, and boys will see, "Arey, इतने सारे आदमी, इतनी सारी लड़कियां, इतनी सारी औरतों ने हमारे लिए इतना कुछ किया." So they look at the woman differently. Their whole perception will, otherwise they only look at women in a limited way and in a very box way, and they don't look at women as life as a whole. So this, I think, is a call for youth edition. It's called the Youth Edition of Women Leadership, Shaping India's Lives and India's Civilization. Secondly, I would say, in the current circumstances, since I've been a part of Indian government, Indian history of governance and bureaucracy and bureaucratic leadership, and I've seen Indian policing for last now 40 years since I joined the service and now, India's situation is today dramatically an opportunity to change. Today, there's a whole new revival of hope. I see a hope. I see a change being driven. I see there's a willingness for change. And I see coming together of communities and even internationally. In fact, non-resident Indians are also now pitching in and wanting to come back to a resurgent India. I've seen this. I'm not making a political statement. As you know, I'm a very straightforward speaking person, a policewoman at heart who speaks her heart out. So therefore, it's not a political statement. It's a revival of hope. I see a revival of hope. I see it within myself. Because last few years have given us a ground for a new journey. So what do? Since the focus is women, I would put women's leadership into 4 streams. And I'm going to give you a concept of 4 streams. Let's take this women's leadership into current circumstances to 4 different directions. We've talked about bureaucracy. India has about how many million? I'll tell you how many million we are. We are millions, out of which women millions are very few. But majority of the women millions in bureaucracy are teachers. Teachers. Teaching monopoly is in the hands of women. Nursing monopoly or health, primary health, is in the hands of women. Medical. But when you look at the base, you have doctors, let's say 20% or 30% doctors. But your nursing or your primary health is entirely in the hands of women. 2 things which touch the common man straight through a woman in India is education and primary health. You have a crowning issues now, and even the NGO movement, almost the entire NGO movement, entire non-profit movements is primarily in the hands of dominant. I'm not saying not in the hands of men. Its social work is in the hands of women. So as a social worker, as a teacher, as in primary health, it's all in the hands of women. And the primary mother nature gives us is the mother. The primary teacher nature gives us is the mother. So the mother, the teacher, the health provider, right, and the social worker is a total change agent if India wants. Through these streams, India's woman can be a social leader in dramatic ways. And I'm giving you 4. First movement, my friends, is the Saksharta movement. 50% of our women are by and large still illiterate. 50% women are still in the dark. Because if you can't read and write, this is switched off. You can't identify the bus, you can't count your money, you can't read a book, you can't read anything. The 50% of women are still not literate enough to become saying, my light is on here. So first S, I'm going to give you a 4S formula. The first S is Saksharta. In this Saksharta, we as women teachers, we as mothers, we as social workers, we as primary health workers need to go in a whole hog movement of making India Sakshar. In the next 2-3 years maximum, I can tell you we can do it in 1 year. We can do it 1 year. I'm still giving you 3 years. We can do it in 1 year. Do you want to do it in 1 year? Are you wanting to do it 1 year? India can become Sakshar in 1 year. If you decide to do it, then I'll give you my idea. It's not a thought, it's an action plan. We as Indian women and men, we as Indians, do we want India to become Sakshar in this 2014 to 2015? Would you like to do it? It's not difficult. And it's not causing for budgets at all. It's a human effort. And what is a human effort? Reach out to your nearest neighborhood, nearest village, nearest slum. Become women networks and take old used school books. Even used school books should be collected as donation. Used school books as donation. There are plenty. I'm sure there'll be enough budget which will be available if you want it. And your children. If you're a school principal, the youth, if you're a vice chancellor, if you're a teacher, your class will use the coming summer vacation to do Saksharta Abhiyan. Saksharta Abhiyan. We can do India Sakshar within 1 year, my friends. Why should youth go home in summer vacation when half of my women in India is not Sakshar? Let this summer vacation be dedicated to Sakshar Bharat. Sakshar Bharat. And we as social workers, we as teachers, we as women in leadership, we as youth, men or women, girls or boys, you as mothers, tell your children, tell teachers, tell the students, इस बारी गांव-गांव में जाएंगे, जो साक्षर नहीं होगा, उसको साक्षरता सिखाएंगे. There are programs which can, and there are books and there are booklets available which can make this person sakshar within 1 month. There are books. I have many of these primers. I use them. I was introduced as having 2 NGOs. I do this. I do this in Delhi. I can show you a model. You want to see it? I'll show you how we do it. I'll tell you how we do it. It looks very idealistic, my friends, since I'm into a practical mode right now, is all my children, 2,500 of these children in my Bhavana slums, friends, I have evidence of it. I have films of it, are a Gurukul. From the class 6th standard onwards, all children whom we educate in our Bhavana slums are part of a Gurukul. This is called the Children's University. And what is their job? Their job is to teach another. They are teaching another. They're teaching their parents literacy. So I'm not into standardized formats which academicians. I want to see that my illiterate woman can read the bus number, can write her own signature, can count her money. She can get a degree later. She can get a certification later. I want to first make her formally literate, certified later, but formally literate, where she starts saying, oh, itna fayda hota hai padhne ka. A 6th standard girl of a slum is educating the uneducated. Whether it's parents or it's children, friends, it's possible. I've done it. You want to see it? Come and see it. It's possible. It's all by no money. No money. We've done it with no money. Nirmala ji, you'll be happy to know there's no money in this. It's all human effort. Do you know where the girls are taking classes and boys? On the rooftops, in the public gardens, in the gullies. They are making children and illiterate parents literate. So that's called the Gurukul concept. You can adopt this concept called the Gurukul, but Sakshar Bharat, if women in India love their India, rise to the first S, Women for Sakshar Bharat. Can we do this in 1 year? We can, if we resolve it. If we as principals, we as teachers, we as vice chancellors, we as mothers, we as social workers, we as primary health workers, if we can get these kaidas, and they're downloadable even. Ka kha ga, ka for kangan, na for null, na. And these olders will pick it up very fast because they already have the language, they already have the perception. So children are it's not left to imagination. Oh, nalka, oh, na. So they draw it as na. Kangan ka, kala, कोयला और से वो का बना लेते हैं ब सो बस से ब बना लेते हैं they just love it and they do it in 1 month's time. Friends, this is the time. If this is something which I think which India needs right away is literacy, Sakshar Bharat. Second S is Swachh Bharat, जो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी हमेशा बोलते हैं. यही साक्षरता से स्वच्छता आएगी, उसके बिना नहीं आएगी. Once we make Sakshar Bharat, we talk of Swachh Bharat, which means we are driving the message wherever you're sitting, your neighborhood, your toilet, your water is starting. See, how can you speak of Swachhta in isolation? You got to link it with Saksharta. How much can one prime minister say, Sakshar Bharat, Swachh Bharat? He's talking of Swachhta, but he's talking of Swachhta in a larger concept. While we have an environmental cleanliness, we have a belief and a habit of clean talk, clean thinking. So you see, it's a holistic Swachh Bharat. We can do this. Friends, again telling you, I'm not preaching here. We're doing this. January the 1st, Bhavana has a population of 1 lakh. It's an outlying slum in Delhi, one of the largest, very population slum. January the 1st, we all are not brooming the city. We are judging which block is the cleanest. So Sakshar Bharat, Swachh Bharat movement has started. And we've decided that January the 1st, Bhavana as a slum will celebrate Swachh Bhavana. So they're already starting cleaning. So we're not brooming now. They're already into it as a habit. So second movement, friends, can come through women's leadership, through social leadership, is Swachh Bharat. Third is Saksham Bharat. How do you become Saksham? All of us have some skill to give. Some have running a dance school, some are running another school, some is running a factory, some is running an entrepreneur. Co-opt your neighborhood child if he is roaming the street. If he is a street child, co-opt him in entrepreneurship and make him Saksham, which means hand skill, which means achar banana, papad banana, kadhai karna, silai seekhna. Kuch bhi kaam, make it Saksham. How do you make it? And I'm not looking at only women for girls. I'm looking for youth. Saksham Yuva, Saksham youth, before they go into proper skills development program. So Saksharta, Swachhta, Sakshamta. In Saksham is the hand skill. So even an illiterate woman will love to, or illiterate boy would love to use her hand skills. How do we use it? We do this in collaboration. You can do this in partnership. And we are all privileged. We all have very good networks. We can link the desirous and the aspirational youth to programs and say, ye bacha idhar jayega, ye bacha. You can pool in friends. We will then be developing hand skill till skills development takes root and these children get certified. I'm talking informal education all the time till formal education takes over, because if we don't take off informal education, by the time it's time for formal education, the child is overgrown. Child is a youth. He's got stage past. So catch him young into informal thirst for knowledge and skills. Post the age, as I told you, 6th standard onwards, you can start developing. And last but not the least, S, is Sanskari Bharat. Sanskar Bharat means value-based Bharat. In all these, friends, in your Saksharta, in your Swachhta, in your Sakshamta, is Sanskar. Is Sanskar. And do you know what is happening? Wherever we've done this program, children have learned Sanskar. They have started to have early leadership in giving, early leadership in sharing, early leadership in simplicity, and they are self-governing. These children whom we are grooming them for this 4S model, which we have. This is our Navjyoti India Foundation model, the 4S model. Sakshar, Swachh, Saksham, Sanskari. And in this Sanskari, we give away a lot of value-based material. We talk about workshops. We do Nukkar Natiks. We do singing. We do praying. We have yoga. We have sports. All cost-free. It's all about using of time. Koi yoga teacher aata hai, wo sikhata hai. Koi judo karate aata hai, wo sikhata hai. They all pull in their time, and children are learning self-defense through giving, through volunteerism. It's volunteerism the base. India is a land of volunteerism. India is a wealth of volunteerism. We just have to reconnect. We just have to connect with each other. And in the Sanskar, teach them history. Share history. History of freedom movement. Our youngsters are not knowing the roots of our freedom movement. Just as I said, women's history. Once we adopt this model of 4S. Kaun sa model? Pehla, Sakshar. Second, Swachhta. Third, Sakshamta. Fourth, Sanskar. India needs this 4S, friends. India needs this 4S. Please, as a bureaucracy, as social workers, as teachers, as mothers, as parents, you cannot leave it to one man only. You cannot just leave to a small cabinet only. You cannot leave it only to the Council of Ministers. We have to be there wherever we are all over India. And we should be seen to be driving this movement. Let's adopt this as millions Sakshar. And maximum, as I said, next 2 years, India should be Sakshar. And I can tell you, this lies in the hands of women. If you are determined to go beyond the rhetoric, beyond the speeches, to action, if you get into that mode of action, and not for photo opportunities, but actual action, you will see India changing within the next 2 years. Thank you very much.
I think we have all enjoyed the eminent speeches of two eminent leaders, the social leader and also the political leader, we know that. We felt so happy. And one more thing I want to tell you that And as both of them said, that what is needed today, that is what is necessary present in the present situation. In 1936 itself, one social leader, eminent woman, Vandaniya Lakshmibai Kelkar, we call her as Vandaniya Maushiji, she thought about this one. What a woman should do. That is why she started Rashtra Sevika Samiti. And she used to say that Vandaniya Lakshmibai Kelkar, she used to say that is, woman has got so much strength in her. Only we should give her opportunities to use that capacity. That is what we have to do that, and that is what I have to tell you, that one. More encouragement should be there, and we should provide the women more chances also. But one more thing I want to tell you, that we need not beg anybody for that. Because if you improve our capacity, definitely we will get that position. So we need not demand, we should command the respect. That is what is necessary today. So we all should think about that. And one more thing, as a woman, we should not think about only the problems of women itself. Because we women are the awakened citizens of this nation Bharat, our beloved Bharat. We are the awakened citizens. As an awakened citizen, so we should think about our nation also, our society also, what is our duty towards the society and towards the nation. So that is what I want to tell you. So we all think about that, and as both of them told, so we should do our duty properly to bring some positive change. As a positive change agent, we can work to bring some positive change in the society and also in the nation. Now I'll give chance for this one question. So many hands are over. We'll see that. From here, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi ji. Yes, for her.
Namaskar. I thought, that was the most brilliant presentation from both of you, and hearty congratulations from all the women. Ma'am, we appreciate all the 4S, and apart from that, the illustrated book. And in that illustrated book, some of them are missed. I would like to tell from Karnataka, the widows now they are committing suicide. In those days, 4 women, they set record in the world. One is Kittur Channamma. 24 years before Jhansi Lakshmi, she defeated the Thackeray and fought against the Britisher. And other one is Belvadi Mallamma. She set all women army and defeated Shivaji and forgave him and became his sister. And the third one is Keladi Channamma. She gave asylum to Shivaji's son and fought against the Aurangzeb's mighty army and defeated that. And the fourth and not the least one is Abbakka Devi. She fought against the Portuguese and drove away the Portuguese mighty navy, and these things must be illustrated so that the younger women do not lose their heart when they lose their husband.
One more thing, we know that, but we don't have time to take all the names, that is why.
Namaste. This question is to Nirmala Sitharamanji. Now you are heading the Commerce Department. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I want to know what is government doing to sort of get the control or the handle on the conversion activities going with the foreign fundings. Is there some plan? Because that is also a big part in breaking up our society.
It's a very important question, but as Commerce Minister, I'm not very well informed to answer that. Maybe I'll pass it as a question to whoever has to answer on it. I will send it over to the Home Ministry.
Ma'am, I would like to come to the straight to my point. My question is that kind of, women's illustration is there on television and and cinema, I think it is very derogatory. I think it is generally only a mere entertainment object for men. So I think you must do something about changing the images of women in television and in also in cinema. It is extremely, I mean, it's very insulting and a very derogatory. So I would like to know what can you do and how you can change, because after all, cinema is affecting our society, and frankly, not these kind of talks. What we see every day in television is going to go into our system and not any kind of conferences. And also, what about women in television, the kind of roles they are playing? I think you must do something about having some kind of regulations or some kind of limits or some kind of timings about certain shows which are not good, something like a Big Boss or something, yeah, I think, which is not that great. Thank you.
Is that question for Kiranji or for me? Both. Because if I have to answer it...
She's very smart. She used to do this on television as well. मैं भी
No.
इनको दे देती थी कि that's yours.
1 minute.
Yeah, it's for her. I think basically, I'll tell you my short answer to this. I think it's time we strengthen our Doordarshan. Doordarshan should become the first channel of this country. Once you have a Doordarshan which is attractive, you will see this junk being ignored. I think we need to invest into Doordarshan like BBC. In fact, the Doordarshan should become another BBC for us, which has quality programs where children go to. Then they will, you see, remember the remote is in your hand. We have to train our children to use the remote rightly. You'll have nonsense always, but you have to use the remote rightly.
Well, I was going to give you an answer. I was hesitating. In fact, I wanted to ask Shantaka whether I can do it. Because I'm grateful Kiranji has given me a little opening there. All right, we can have Doordarshan. I'm also in favor of Doordarshan. But let's not pretend. I'm sorry to be blunt like this. Let's not pretend. There is an audience for this. There is an audience for this. I'm not saying therefore it should go on. I'm not saying that. Don't mistake me. But if we are constantly telling the government, what are you doing about it? I want to ask for a minute. What are we doing about those people who are watching it? When she's talking of the fourth S, sanskar, that's what it means. You are encouraging a certain theme, a certain narrative, a certain story, a certain picturization of women where she's made a commodity, where she's being projected as a doormat. And you're comfortably watching it, shedding tears and feeling, oh my God, this is we women. And then you want the government to come and stand a jury there? I'm sorry. So in a way, I'm not trying to push the buck back at you. We want Doordarshan to do well. We believe it stood for good quality picturization. It gave you selected good choice of a film or a documentary or anything. There is a market for it. There is an audience for it. But what about this audience? And therefore, while the government, at the same time, don't mind me saying this, the moment government tries to come in, we will have equally n number of women saying, oh, moral policing. Let's be clear where you want the government. The government will come in. But as long as we want choice, as long as we typically, because we believe in this, strongly believe in certain freedom of choice, I think it is for us, much more than for the government, to exert this freedom of choice with a certain sense of discretion and sanskar. And as long as we are watching it, there are always people who want to dish it out for us. And as long as it is being dished out for us, it's not just us watching, it's also our children watching. So let's make a choice. We are there. You want us to do something? We'll do it.
1 minute. I will also answer this. See, Rashtra Sevika Samiti has done this. I think you all know that we are seeing daily some serials like that, and below that one strip is used to come. If you don't like this, if you want to object this, please contact. That number, they used to give us the number also from Doordarshan. Are we using that? We are not using that. So Rashtra Sevika Samiti has done this in Mumbai. So we have objected this one, and definitely, immediately they stopped it. So we can do. So as a viewers club, form a viewers club, you observe that, and then definitely we have got so many addresses also. You can give the complaint for that. And those officers told us that even if there is one signature, if you send SMS also, one SMS represents 20 persons. So if you can send 20 SMS, nearly it is representing 400 people. So definitely they are going to stop it. We can try that. We know that we have done it.
But let's make BBC out of this.
And one more, this one.
नमस्ते. मैं सोचती हूँ अब मैं बोलना शुरू कर दूँ. सबसे पहले मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि आप सब कहें भारत माता की जय.
भारत माता की जय.
I am Urmila Arya from Fiji. I hope Jai. Mata ki Jai.
Okay.
I'm very proud to be here, and I spent 60 years looking forward to be here.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
So now, before I go to the question, I congratulate the women that spoke yesterday and today. और उसमें मैं जोड़ना चाहती हूँ, क्या आपने कहा 4 सा के बारे में कहा, उसमें मैं 7 जोड़ना चाहती हूँ. Bear with me please, because this thing is very hurting to me, क्योंकि इंडिया को बहुत इज्जत देते हैं. और मैं कुछ कहना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि आज हमारे सामने आप ऐसी व्यक्ति हैं जो इस बात को ले जा सकते हैं. आपने स्वच्छता पे बात करा और इस अभियान को लेने के बारे में बात किया. तो जब हम यहाँ पर देख रहे हैं तो हम ये चाहते हैं कि आप अपने पुलिस फोर्स में 2 कामों को बंद कराइए. अपने पुलिस लोगों को, क्योंकि हमारे कंट्री में, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, न्यूजीलैंड, फिजी में, they are not allowed to smoke, not allowed to drink, and not allowed to spit. The rule makers are the first people to follow it. तो यहाँ मुझे बहुत दुख हुआ देखकर, रास्ते में पुलिसमैन जो गाड़ी को खड़ा किया वो बात नहीं कर सकता था, क्योंकि मुंह में उसका पान का थूक था और वो करता था, मुझे छांट आ गया. ये बहुत दुखदाई बात है. इसको आप ले जाइए और कहिए कि पुलिसमैन को पान खाना नहीं चाहिए, वो बात कर ले या पान खा ले. दूसरी बात, एक दूसरी जगह पे हम भ्रमण करते गए. अच्छा, क्वेश्चन है कि हाँ, आप अपने करिकुलम में जो आपने बताया है, इसमें आप ये स्वच्छता के लिए भी ये सब जोड़ लीजिए कि सफाई अभियान के लिए जोड़े. इसमें तो बहुत सी बातें हैं, लेकिन अब समय मुझे नहीं मिल रहा है. थैंक यू.
Only one question you can ask.
My question
एक
is for
question आप पूछ सकते.
Kiran Bedi. What are the challenges in women bureaucracy these days? There have been so many women, but they are discriminated in Indian government offices. Everywhere there are so many issues, but nobody has talked about that. So what are the challenges you have seen?
It's all the attitude of the woman herself. If she thinks she's weak, she's weak. If she thinks she's capable and courageous, she's capable and courageous. Everybody has challenges. It's your thinking which makes it so. It's your attitude. There's no discrimination as such. You go up by seniority, you go up by your merit. And if she's not meritorious, how can you give her a place? But if she's meritorious and she's courageous, she'll make a place for herself. So it's an attitude. So therefore, let's bring up our girls equally and confidently so that when they join the government service, they are visible and they deliver.
Thank you, Kiranji. In fact, half of my question gone, and you have answered it actually. I was about to ask that both of you have chosen a field where man dominance has been from ages. So I just wanted, you can put few tips how women keeping their dignity intact with complete honor, make their place and space in these two fields. So I want a few tips. See, many women are so potential because the last 28 years I am in this field. I am Professor Manjushri. So I have resigned, of course, 15 years ago, much before my retirement. And I joined in 80s Ekal Vidyalaya movement. So I'm going all over. And I'm coming across village ladies, so potential, Kiranji, I can't tell you. But the same thing happening, that the dominant world of men, somehow they fail to make their own place. Give some, and even these urban educated ladies are feeling the same restriction. They are educated, but they are not able to come out of that. Give some live example, if you can, please.
I'll join you.
Sitaramanji especially. See, politics has become dirty word. But now, looking at you, I mean, we feel so good. It is no more dirty word. If Sitaraman can make such prestigious, I mean, you have become a very prestigious, ideal name for us. Please give tips.
Keeping the time constraint in mind, I can only say two things here based on my experience. First thing is, you observed something which I would definitely say. You observed something which is very, very...
Quiet. Please listen to her. It's very rare moments you get. Please listen. Thank you. Quiet, please.
He's answering the question now.
You know, when you observe, urban educated women are also, please pardon me, I know 99.9% of the audience here is urban educated. And your observation is 100% right. But I'll give a twist to it. It's only the urban educated women who are feeling this. I don't know what we want. Urban educated women, I'm sorry, I know I'm saying something which is very provocative. But it's we who constantly say we don't get an opportunity, men are dominating. Go look at the rural women, yeah. They are absolutely up against 1,000 odds. I'm not saying it from some fancy day 50 years ago business. Only recently, meaning how recent? 15th, 16th, 17th. 3 full days I spent in one of the remotest village in Andhra Pradesh, which I have adopted as a member of parliament as per the Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana. Sometimes I was speechless. The rate at which these women would stand up, of course I quoted to you about the Nellore movement, about the Chipko movement and everything, which we've seen periodically, all of which came from the rural areas. This Gaon, which has a very serious threat of the sea erosion, half of the villages every time being eaten away and the people are being moved inwards 4 kilometers, 3 kilometers by the authority in such an adverse environment. The way in which they came forward to say, all right, you're coming here, you're going to serve us, tell us what you're going to do. Do you know this problem exists? Do you know that exists? And so on. Majority of the answers were also given by the women there. What is this? Urban educated? No. Extremely disadvantaged rural women who probably have not even seen more than class 5. But of course, they are also participating in many of the government Saksharata movement. So this sankoch about politics and this whole year then thou attitude about politics is dirty, we don't want to go there, business doesn't exist in rural women. It's we. And I'm not saying you, I'm including myself in you. It's we who have this hesitation about saying, politics is dirty, let it get cleansed, after which I'll go and show my presence. I'm sorry. Come all of you all. Come one and all. Politics is not dirty as long as you are out of it. Come in and be clean, continue to be clean. After all, many of us did not even wait for it to become clean. We have to get into it. I don't come from a political family. My parents have been completely into bureaucracy and so on. In fact, they had a shock when I said, I'm in a political party. But they didn't discourage me, thank God. I think we have to take this call. Enough of us sitting on judgment about this is not fit for women, that's not fit for women. They won't be fit for women till we get into it. Get into it, do your bit, and make it cleaner, make it fitter for women. And I will here tell you a political line. No better party than BJP for women to be in it.
Can I add? Can I add something?
एक मिनट हाँ हाँ एक मिनट अभी समय हो गया
मैम मैं
sorry for you आपको
just want to add.
yes you can
I'll give you
नहीं
no I'll give you an answer.
बैठ जाइए नहीं please chair as a chairman
I'll
I
give
have
you an
to
example why are you saying like this. I was in a school yesterday, in an elite school in Punjab. I won't name the city. And in that school function, every time there was a musical event or something like that, there used to be 14 boys and 2 girls. I said, I've never seen a function like this where boys are singing and they're all boys and it's a co-educational school, friends. Only 2 girls every time. I asked the principal, where are the girls? They said, parents here think investment into expensive school and investment into girls is a waste of money. So friends, many elite families who can afford send their girls elsewhere, but boys elsewhere, because they think investing into girls is still our mind. That then translates into growth also, which is why the girl gets left behind and boys start dominating in a different way. So we as mothers must decide that and know and feel girls and boys are both equally precious.
Sorry. हाँ. As a chairperson, I have to perform my duty. मैं इसलिए समय हो रहा है हमको समय को मेंटेन करना. इन दोनों ने बहुत अच्छी तरह से अपना आइडियाज़ को एक्सप्रेस किया है खुला मन से with an open mind. Really, we all felt so happy. And they'll be here only. You can ask any number of questions with them. But we have to maintain the time. That is why. So now I am ending this session. बाद में आपने बात कर सकते हैं. And आप लोगों ने अच्छी तरह से भाग लिया इसमें. Definitely I can.